Hello, creative friends, and welcome back to Susie on the Farm. I'm Susie, and this time of year, I always like to kind of work through my hoard, as I like to call it. I like to work on things that I've had a while, and I think we're all in that kind of mode this year to clean up, get a fresh start. So that's what today's video is. I have, I think, 4 more thrift store makeovers for resale for you guys. So let's go ahead and get started with today's projects. To begin with, I have this fireplace screen. It's been in my basement for, I know, a couple of years. Just been kind of tucked away in a shelf. And so I brought everything from the basement I could find. In the spirit of getting through my hoard, I also want to use some transfers I haven't been able to use. And I have some of this Cotswolds transfer. There's 2 very large images in this one. To begin with, we know I don't like this orangey wood, so I'm going to cover it. And to do that, I am using Fusion paint, which is an all-in-one paint, and I'm using the color Algonquin. I like to paint the backside first, so I did a couple coats on that, and then I turned it over and covered this pretty fruit on the front with another 2 coats. And once that has dried, well, I let that dry overnight, and then this happened. Now, I know you folks that get feet of snow all the time think I'm crazy, but down here in Alabama, this is pretty rare. We got like 6 inches of snow, and we were in the house for 4 days all together and quite relaxing, and I was so ready to get back to work, so I came in as soon as I could and got back to this fireplace screen. I'm going to use this Tavern one with the sheep on it. I want this to look like it's been in an English countryside tavern for a few decades at least. To begin with, I'm going to cut this down, cut the edge on this so I can match them up easily. Then I need to find the center of that middle piece. I'll lay one piece down, and then I'll just line up the rest of the pieces from there. If you've never used a transfer before, they are so easy. You just peel off that white backing. In this case, I'm actually going to also cut this one apart for the seam there so I can put the one on the one side and one on the other. I think it just made it a little bit easier transferring them down. Anyway, you peel off that white backing and then you lay it onto your surface. All the transfers come with this little rubbing tool, and you just rub and lift, and eventually, and you'll be able to tell when your image transfers onto your paint. If you use Fusion paint and you let it dry, it's so simple to put these down. Now this one took me, I'm not going to let y'all watch it all because this is a big one. And all them little bits and pieces had to be rubbed on the sheep's wool there. So this one probably took me, I didn't time myself, but it probably took around 20 minutes. But I just rub and lifted. Might have had to take a break to go help a customer. Anyway, and then I just lined up each piece until I got them all down. Before I forget, I'm going to link my website down below. If you're looking for any of these transfers, paint, just about any of the projects that I use in my upcycles, you can find them on my website, susieonthefarm.com. And if I have time, I will list each of these individual products that I'm using in today's video. Once I got the transfer down, I took my hand and just went over it really good to make sure all the bits and pieces were stuck down. And then, like I said, I want this to look like it's been sitting around in a tavern for a few decades. So I am going to distress all the edges. I'm even going to raise up those hinges and make sure I distress that really good. And then I'm going to take this is like a 220 grit sandpaper. I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper. I'm even going to go over the transfer. You can distress your transfers. Just gives them a more aged look. Makes it look like where it's not something you just stuck on this paint. Finally, to seal this up, I am going to use Fusion Tough Coat Matte, and I'm just going to put one light layer over the front. Fusion paint does have a built-in sealer, so I don't need to seal the back. I just need to do this front side because of the transfer. I love how this turned out. It is quite a statement piece. This is not going to be something that everybody's looking for, but this is definitely going to be something that somebody's looking for and somebody needs in their home. Y'all let me know what you think of this piece, and let me know which one's your favorite in this video down in the comments. When you comment, it helps YouTube know to share out my video with new viewers, and I love having new viewers. Project number 2 is this metal filing box. Now, I love Rusty Crusty just like everybody mostly does. This one was just a little bit too much, and I did not like the color of it. So I've sanded it as smooth as I could, and just to be safe, to make sure there's no bleed through, I am going to put a layer of Salvation solution on there. This is a really good primer. It's a DIY, and it is, I think I have this available on the website. And I'm going to put one layer of this primer on before I paint it. Like I said, it may not need it, especially because I'm going to use Fusion paint, which has a sealer in it. But just in case, I'd rather be safe than sorry, so I sealed in all the rust on this piece. And I did let it dry overnight. I feel like, it may even be in the instructions, I'm not sure, but I feel like the sealer works better when it has time to really cure. To paint this, I'm going to use Fusion in the color Acadia Pear. This is one of their newest colors, and it's this beautiful, like, mossy green color. And Fusion goes on so smooth. I think I only had to do one coat because of the Salvation solution. With this one, I might have had to do a few touch-ups just in area I missed. So I went ahead and gave the whole thing at least one coat of paint, and I decided to go ahead and paint over the hardware. This one opens pretty easy, but be careful when you're painting over hardware, and just make sure your paint doesn't make it stick where it doesn't open. So see, I'm painting it with the door slightly open because I don't want to paint it together. I'm going to go back to the Painterly Floral Transfer. This is the one that has all the lavender in it. So I'm going to put lavender around the bottom of this, but I need to cut some of that bottom part off. I'll save those and use them somewhere else later. So I'm going to wrap around the sides too, and I'm going to bring the transfer up over the hardware just a little bit as well. And you just watch me put the other transfer on. Same situation, very easy. You just rub and lift. I'm doing the hardware first because I know that that's going to move my paper around a little bit. And just to be safe, I'm doing the hardware first and then working my way down. And then I cut some more of the lavender off, wrapped them around the side just a little bit. This box is actually, this one, and I have another one that I did a while back, will actually be in next week's Whatnot show. I think it's the 23rd, which is going to be next Thursday night at 6, most likely. And it is all about home decor storage solutions, boxes, bins, baskets, stuff like that. So I'm specifically doing this one for that show, but I'm going to be on the lookout for me one because I have started a new craft and I have a lot of things that I need to store. I might share that with y'all a little bit later what it is, but it's paper crafting so I need places to store all my paper stuff. So I'm going to be on the lookout for me another one of these filing boxes or two. If you're interested in this one or any of the other boxes, bins, baskets that I'm going to have in my Whatnot show next week, I'll leave a link below, as well as an invitation where you get a $15 credit if you're new signing up to Whatnot. Once I got the transfer on, I wanted to put some words on that top part there, and I settled on a pretty long word because this is going to have documents in it. Some people might like put their tax information in it. Anyway, whatever you decide to put in it, I'm sure is important to you. So I'm going to put the word important. I'm going to try to center it over the hardware there, but I don't measure much of anything. I usually just eye things. So this is IOD I think this is the letterpress. This one has 3 different fonts on it, and I chose the largest one. I'm just going to stamp the word important up there on the top, and you can see how I am using one hand in place and then moving the other hand over the letters. I always keep one hand still, and I didn't forget to go ahead and put that T back on there. So once everything is dried, I do need to seal in the transfer on this, and I decided to use wax to do that, and I thought, let's use a white wax over this Acadia pear. This is something that I haven't done before, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm putting white wax all over this box. Let it sit for just a minute, and then I'll take a paper towel and wipe it back, and it does change the color, but it just really softens it up a lot. It works as a sealer on that transfer, and I love how it turned out. I chose not to distress this box any. It started out so distressed, so I didn't distress it in the end, and I love how it turned out, and it's functional. Today's third project is simply a paint bucket. Now, I actually thrifted this one, but you can use any paint bucket, especially a metal one worked great. I have lots of storage in these buckets, and again, I'm focusing on some storage. So this is super shiny. If you're concerned about the paint sticking, you can take it outside, spray it with a clear sealer first, and that will help your paint stick. But I know DIY paint, and I know that it's going to stick to this. So I just went ahead and I did one coat, I dried it, and I did a second coat. And by the time I put the second coat on, this was completely covered. And I worked my way around. I went ahead and painted the entire outside of the paint can. And this is the color Crinoline. It's a beautiful off-white color. And the reason I chose a light color is because I know that I want to decoupage onto this paint can. And to do that, I am going to use a little bit of what I have left of the Barnyard Masterboard paper. This is a Roycycle paper from the last release. And I have this little bit left, and I thought it would be perfect for this paint can. It's the right size. It does not go all the way around the can, but I have a solution for that. And to decoupage this on, I went ahead and I'm going to use DIY Liquid Patina. I always use this or Fusion for decoupaging. They are my favorite. And I was watching myself back as I was editing this video, and I was like, wow, I make this look so easy, and it's because I have years of decoupaging experience. And I think back on some of my earlier videos, and you can go back and watch them. I was not this good, and I did not make it look this easy, and I had tons of wrinkles. But just like anything else in life, it gets easier the more you do it. You just become really adept at it. As you can see, I started with a little starter strip of my decoupage medium. Then I lay my paper down. I miss my paper. That helps with wrinkles. And then I'm using a very soft bristle brush, and I rub out all the wrinkles and put another layer of the liquid patina on top. And I just continue until I get it all laid down and I didn't have any wrinkles in this. But don't worry, if you're new to decoupage, I know some of y'all are probably better at this than I am, but if you're new to decoupage, don't be disheartened, because I promise it gets easier. It's just one of those things. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Don't give up. After I got this down, I let it dry for several hours. You want to make sure that your paper's completely dry before you do this next step. And then I just took my little sanding block and I sanded off all the excess at the bottom and the top. Now, you could go all the way around this paint can with your paper, but I didn't have enough left of this paper to do that. And I didn't want to open another one because I wanted to save those for you guys if anybody needed one. So I got all the excess off, and then like I was talking about before, there are just some things that the more you do it, the better you get at it. And there are some things that I need a lot more practice at. And one of those things is paint blending. I've never been good at it, and that's because I rarely ever do it. So I've decided to try it in this video. I pulled out a few colors that I thought could blend together to kind of match. I don't like that solid cut off line there. So I pulled out weathered wood, I pulled out sandy blonde, and I have the crinoline there that I'm using. So I'm just gonna like play around with this until I get it like I want it. I put a pretty good bit of the weathered wood on there, and then I went in with some sandy blonde. I'm basically just dabbing it all on, and then I'm gonna blend it all together here in just a minute. The sandy blonde's a really close match, but do remember that DIY paints dry down lighter than they look in the can. So I knew that it wasn't gonna be a perfect match, and it doesn't end up being a perfect match, but it does hide that sharp edge. You could also tear your edges, which I should have done that, and I didn't do it, but I'm just going to cover it up. That's okay. You just use a little paintbrush, tear your edges. I didn't want to waste any of my paper because that's all I had, and I wanted it to fill as much of the can as possible. So as you can see there, I'm using a little water and on my paintbrush and just blending all of those together. And then I'm going to dry it and see how it looks. And then I'm just going to continue all the way around practicing my blending techniques. I'm probably not doing it right, but it's working for me. I'm going to put another little bit of sandy blonde on the top here. Dry that and continue on around until I get it all blended in together. Like I said, it didn't turn out perfect, but I am going to keep at it until I master this blending. I'm also not very good at picking the right colors. I watch Connie paint her, Connie Hammer with the Painted Photographer, and it just amazes me how she chooses just the perfect colors to blend in with things, and so many people are so good at that. So don't take my example here, but it was lighter than the front, and I have a solution for that. I am going to use my Fusion Aging Wax, and I'm going to put it all over the entire paint can, and then I'm just going to let it sit for just a minute and wipe it back, and that was just the perfect final touch to blend all this in together. It's very rustic, very farmhouse, and I love it. This is great for storing utensils in if you have a farmhouse kitchen. I have it out on the porch here at the store with some rolling pins in it, and it just looks so good. I hope y'all like it, and get out there in your scrap pile and get an old paint can. They look even better when they've got paint coming down the edges and stuff. So we remodeled our kitchen, I don't know, about 5 years ago, and we lost a few drawers because we didn't have a dishwasher. So we cut out a section and we lost several drawers, and then we also took out a bathroom vanity. So I have quite a few of these drawers left over, and they were in the basement, so I brought them up here to the store. And for this one, I need another little place in the store to display like small things or for out on the porch. So I want to make a little shelf out of this one. I went to my scrap wood pile, grabbed a couple of pieces, and I'm just going to cut them down to be the little shelves inside of this cabinet or drawer. But first of all, before I install those, I am going to decoupage in this. So I want to have a light background. So I'm going to go over the entire drawer with 2 coats of a white paint. This is Fusion in the color Casement. I had it right here. It's my go-to white, and this was the bottom of the can, and I had just enough to finish up this drawer. So once those 2 coats of paint have dried, I am going to decoupage in here. I went through my open decoupage paper, and I found this beautiful botanical page, and I'm sorry I don't have it available, and I can't even tell you what the name of it was. This was in one of Sonnet's Maker's Box back in the fall, I think, but it was just a beautiful botanical, and I thought that it would look amazing in the back of this shelf. I'm going to decoupage this down. This time I'm using the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel. It's a little bit thicker. It and the liquid patina are both amazing. This one is kind of my favorite. So I did the same technique. I am putting a starter strip, starting that way, and just working my way down. I did not notice until the next day when I went to finish this project that I did it in upside down. I don't think that's going to matter. I really wanted the top of this shelf to be the outside so I could actually put a little handle on it. I thought that that would be neat. So now I am just using my brad nailer to put my little shelves in. I should have got my level out. They're pretty straight, pretty level. Nothing's fallen off the shelf so far. So hopefully they are level enough. And I just put a couple of brad nails in there. Now, because this is an old cabinet, it's not perfect. There's knots in it, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and distress this. And you need sandpaper to distress Fusion paint. And I went ahead and I left it upside down. I don't think you can see the writing there in the bottom enough to realize it. I put one of the old hammered copper pulls on it. And now I have this cute little shelf to store all these smalls in at the store. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope that you have enjoyed today's projects. I'll see you back here next Wednesday for more upcycles.